Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Charged Up Bass, and I know it's been a while. I'm starting to pump out some more videos and getting ready to do some more media as well. So if you haven't followed my socials, I've got a Facebook page. Not too active on it right now, but I definitely do have an Instagram that I am very active on. I just put a few posts up there about a couple Corrado DC reels that I just got. So look out for a video and go look at some of those posts there. But without further ado today, obviously by the title, you've already seen it. I'm going to be running over my setups for this year and just sort of some of the tackle that I'm starting out with. You know, as a fisherman, you know, we love tackle. You know, the newest thing, gotta have it, gotta buy it. So I'm going to be running over that equipment and just sort of what all the rods are for, what I'm using them for, and what you can probably use them for as well. So let's get into it. Alright guys, you can see some of the wipers off to the side here. I've got them all lined up on my bed, but before we go any further, I'd like to give a big thanks, shout out to FavoriteRodsUSA. They've been a big help to me, not just last season, but starting this season. You know, their customer support is top of the line. You know, it doesn't get any better than that. You know, you feel like a family when you're working with them, but just another big thanks to Favorite. So anyway, let's kick it off here. I'm going to start with sort of my, not cheaper, like I hate to use the word cheap, but less expensive rods, and then we'll move down the line to the more expensive. I've only got 4 different types of rods. You know, I've kind of narrowed it down to the ones I really like and I can really rely on. So first up is going to be my Whitebird 7.2, no wait, Whitebird 7.3 medium light. This is sort of my ultralight rod. I've got 20-pound braid on that with a, I think it's a 12-pound fluoro leader. You know, I like to fish drop shots on this, small little Ned rigs, real small stuff. It might not even come out of the box at Rayburn in 2 weeks, but you know, I love fishing small little creeks, streams with this. All around great rod, and I also have that paired with a. I have to watch the ceiling in here. It's 8-foot ceilings, and you know these are 7+ foot rods. So this is a Fluger Summit XT in a 2500 size. So you know, ultralight, pretty small. And it works great. Can't complain about it at all. So I'm gonna, as we're going through, I'm gonna try to set them back here, just so y'all can get a little glimpse at them a little more. All right, next up is gonna be the Whitebird again in a spinning combo. This time it is a 7.2 medium heavy. So it's got a great tip on it. You know, all the Whitebirds have great tips. A little slower action, I think you'd call it. Some people confuse me with the actions and whatever, but it's all around a great rod. Sensitivity is off the charts with this. It has micro guides, so you feel everything the line does. Just a little tick on like a 40-yard cast, you're gonna feel it. And I've got that paired with a Fluger President 3500. This is actually my very first spinning reel that I ever acquired, and it's still rocking today. I've got it matched up on 20-pound braid with a, this time I think it's a 14-pound fluoro leader. So moving into all my bait casting, that was all my spinning. I don't have too many of them because I do prefer bait casting, and I know, especially with this next one, I can do this. I can throw a drop shot on it. The sensitivity is still amazing on these Whitebirds. But this is my let me check my reference sheet here, 7-foot medium heavy Whitebird paired up with a Lew's Tournament Laser Classic. I've got 12-pound fluoro on here, and I like to run, you know, small Texas rigs. I've got a little football head with a little finesse worm on there. So that's sort of what I run on it. I don't run anything too heavy on it. I will occasionally throw a shallow diving crankbait like a Strike King 1.5, but this is an all-around good rod for something that has that you want to have like a lot of tip, a lot of sensitivity on it. Moving right along brings us into my last Whitebird that I have, and that is going to be a 7.4 medium heavy, paired up with a Shimano Sias and a 6:3:1 gear ratio. And I like to run my spinner baits, smaller chatter baits, and moving baits. So that also will include, you know, some medium diving crankbaits that run anywhere between, you know, 5 and 8, 9, 10 feet. Nothing too crazy, not the deep divers, but I do love throwing spinner baits on this rod. It's that extra length really adds a lot of sensitivity, and you can see, like I said earlier, the tip is amazing, and you can just feel those blades pulsing, and when they stop, you know you got a fish, or you're in the weeds or something like that. I'm running 14 pound fluoro on this. Again, nothing too crazy, and you know, changing line, it doesn't take much. You kind of just let the lake tell you what to do. Alright, next up, this currently doesn't have a reel on it. This is my 6.6 Absolute in medium heavy action. Almost all these rods are medium heavy coming up here, except for the very last one. So I'm not gonna say medium heavy anymore, because these are all medium heavy. And I'd like to point out a little difference between the Absolute series and the Whitebird series. Even though these can be the same length, both in medium heavy, the Absolutes just have a lot more backbone in them. I guess you'd call that a faster action, the way it snaps back. I guess the Whitebirds have a little slower action, so I'd call it more of a medium action. It just really depends. Like, the way I gauge it is might be a little different from the way most people do it, but I know also rod companies, you know, they say it different ways too. I'm just gonna say the Favorite Absolutes, great backbone, great for flipping, great for the one I'm gonna get up to next is actually my deep crank rod, just because it has so much backbone and such a nice tip to it. So again, 6.6 currently doesn't have a reel on it, but this was actually my very first favorite rod that I bought. The tip took a little beating on it, so I had to glue it back on, but other than that, I mean, it was a great rod. Cannot complain about the Absolute series. Alright, next up, I'm going to replace the reel, but right now I have a Silver Max on it. This is the Absolute 7 foot? Yeah, I got it right. This is the Absolute 7 foot running the Abu Garcia Silver Max. Going to replace it with the Best Pro Shops Pro Qualifier 2, just because they're going on sale in a few days here. But like I said, I'm running medium diving crankbaits. This is a Strike King 1.5 flat side. And I've got 12 pounds fluoro on here, maybe 14, I'm not sure, 12, 14. It's basically the same thing. So I'm just running that on there, you know, great tip, like I said, you know, it's long enough to cast this guy a great distance. And coming to one of the longer rods I have, this is a 7'2" Absolute, and I've got that paired up with a Lew's Laser MG Speed Spool. This thing's got a ton of drag on it. I've got it matched with a 65 pound braid. This is going to be my frogging rod, or attempt to be a frogging rod, but I'm also throwing A-rigs on here, you know, long enough to bomb it out there, strong enough to get that hook get the hook in the fish's mouth all the way on a long bomb cast like that. So this is the first time I ran braid on the Absolute series, I believe. I had a different frogging rod, but that one currently broke, so I'm switching over. I'm going to try it with this, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, coming to my last Absolute. Currently doesn't have a reel. This rod is actually a little big for any of the reels I had, so I currently do not have a reel for it, but this is the Mega, like, 7.3 heavy. This one's not medium heavy. I've got one more heavy as well. But this is the 7 foot heavy Absolute. And let me tell you guys, this is a freaking tanker. The diameter on the bottom blank here is insane. It's like more than a ½ inch. I could probably measure it now for you, but I don't know where my tape measure is. But this is almost too big, almost not comfortable in my hands, just because it's so long, so big, and I can't really, you know, I don't think the handle's long enough. You've got maybe a less than a 1 foot handle with a, you know, 7+ foot rod, you know. I can't comfortably, it's squishing my elbow back here. I've got long arms, so that's one reason I bought a couple rods coming up here. So this one currently doesn't have a reel on it, might not put a reel on it. It might just be one of those extra rods that I keep around if one of these breaks. All this talking, it make me thirsty. Alright, so all these rods and reels here, I don't believe any of you guys on my channel have seen yet. I know last year I did a tackle rundown, and I didn't have all favorite rods then, but right now I'm running all favorite rods, and these are the newest additions. Well, some of those were too, but these are the newest, latest, biggest additions to my arsenal personally. Alright, so I'm sure you've seen this rod before. This is the 7-foot medium heavy Defender. I am running a Shimano Corrado DC casting reel on that in a 150 size. And I'll tell you what, I tried to do a video in the wind a couple of weeks ago. Did not work out, so be on the lookout for a Corrado review video. And I'll just run down, you know, strengths, weaknesses, and, you know, all that fun stuff. But super excited about this rod and reel. I've always wanted to get a Corrado DC, or any DC in that matter, just because, you know, after trying it out, I don't have to touch the spool at all whatsoever. It is a complete blessing to have one of these now. And I think I'm gonna have to start upgrading on my other reels at some point. But currently broke in college and don't quite have the money for that. But anyway, this rod and reel is great for almost anything you want to do. I know Favorite runs their weights a little high sometimes. So this lure weight, it says 3/8 to 1 ounce. I wouldn't go all the way up to an ounce. I had a few troubles with that in the last tournament. I pushed their weights down about about half an ounce on each one, so maybe a quarter of an ounce, because I have thrown a 3/4 ounce on here, but I wouldn't go all the way up to an ounce. That's just a bit much for this rod. Like the white, so this rod is kind of a mix between the Whitebird and the Absolute actions on it. You know, it's got a great tip like the Whitebird, but the backbone starts a little farther down compared to the Absolutes. You know, it's a sort of it's a good mix between them, which makes it an all-around great rod. I have a jig on here because I was flipping earlier, but I like to run any Texas rigs, any swim baits. I like to run a 1/2 ounce swim bait on here. You know, it casts it super far, and it's great. I had an underspin. Let me show it to you real quick. I was throwing this guy on here. It's just a 5.5 inch Kitech swim bait with a Trocar underspin, but I took it off and just currently have the jig on it. So all around great rod. I've thrown crankbaits on here, I've thrown swim baits, I've thrown Texas rigs, I've thrown small Carolina rigs. I have nothing to complain about this rod. And I also have 17-pound fluoro on there, just in case anything happens. Get a giant, you know, it'll stand up to it. Now, this is my most expensive combo coming up right now. It's not my last one, but it is the most expensive. And if you couldn't tell, I've been running in sort of like most inexpensive to expensive. Well, this is the most expensive rod I have, but it's not the longest one. So I've gone, you know, height and price. But anyway, this is the Favorite Rods Big Sexy 7-foot medium heavy, I believe. 7-foot medium heavy. And I'll tell you guys, this rod is one of the prettiest rods I've ever seen. So starting right above the handle, or right above your reel, the metal work on here is amazing. The shine is off the charts, and you've got the Favorite logo and Big Sexy, and like a cool little like carbon fiber design, and then off on the rest of the rod, I can't even describe it. Like in the light, it's green, and then you turn it over one way and it looks red. So if you get a chance to like look at this rod, maybe go to where are they selling them? Fun and Sun and Hearst. You can go on the website, get one yourself. Like honestly, nothing bad about these rods. Let me talk about the tip real quick. And of course, you know, I talked about the reel, but the tip and sensitivity on this is insane. I talked about the Defender being super sensitive, the Whitebird being super sensitive. This rod here tops them all. Now granted, the price point on this rod is $200 itself. The Defender, $100, the Whitebird's 50 and the absolute 60. But if you want to commit to a rod and spend that, 150 plus range, get a big sexy. You will not regret it at all. The guide's super smooth. I've got 20-pound braid on my Corrado right now. I'm gonna change it out to Power Pro, but I also have a leader, and I'm casting anywhere from a half ounce, maybe a little lower, 3/8 ounce and above on this. The Corrado lets me skip under docks extremely well, super controlled. And also, how I was complaining about that other Absolute, the real big one, these handles are absolutely ginormous, which is great for me. Long arms, in heavy hook sets, I've got to have it like way back here to get that fish when I set the hook. And this big back part here on the rod, it makes the whole rod extremely balanced. With this Corrado is not, it's not extremely heavy, but the balance point is almost right on the reel. And I cannot tell you how much of a advantage that is when you're casting, because you're working your bait more of your wrist. Like, that's how I like to work it. I don't like to use my whole arm. I like to just use my wrist, and if I get tired, I'll use my whole arm. But having it balanced right there in the center, you can feel everything. Your wrist, you will feel more bites in your wrist than when you're going with your arm 99% of the time. That's what I found. Fishing deeper, when you're slowly going with your wrist, you feel it a lot better, because your wrist, just a little hit, your wrist is going to fall down. If you're going with your whole arm like this, you've got all that to work with. The fish has to hit your arm down. This way, it only hits your wrist. It's balanced. You're going to feel it. So, I guess moving on to my last rod here. Let me check the time. All right, we're at 17 minutes. I can speed this up a bit. But last rod, another big sexy 7'6". This is a 7.5-foot rod. All right, matched up with the Shimano Sias again. I might change it out, put the other DC on here. We will see. I am running big Carolina rigs. That is what I'm hoping it will do. I've got 25-pound fluoro on here. Got a nice Jean LaRue craw. But again, nothing bad about this rod at all. And when I'm looking at rods, I am pretty dead honest with you guys. If it's a bad rod, I'm going to tell you. The Whitebirds, they've got some tip issues. Your front eyelet comes out sometimes if you put the rod stock on too hard, but other than that, I mean, I treat them right, and they've lasted me a long time. The Absolute, that 6.6, it's been here for 3 years now. Anyway, again, let me just compare the handles at the back. I don't know if I have enough room here. The reels are right on top of each other. That 6.76 has an extra whole inch on the back of it, and that just provides more support, more balance on the rod, so you can feel that deep bite, which is what I'm going to be doing on here. Big jigs, big Carolina rigs, and I don't know really what else to do with this. I can't flip with it just because the back handle's so long. I tried it. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Might get caught up right here. Alright, anyway guys, that's probably all the time I want to spend in this video right now. If you want to see a tackle rundown where you get to look inside all my tackle boxes, all my terminal tackle, all my cranks and stuff, give me a like, give me a comment down below, and I will do that for you. I might just make it, and if I get enough likes, comments, whatever, I'll just post it. But anyway guys, big shout out to Favorite. Again, I know I can't say it enough, can't thank you guys enough for all you do, but I'm just looking forward to this season. First up is going to be Sam Rayburn. I am leaving the 18th, I believe, and the 19th on Tuesday, and then we're going to go fish there for a one-day tournament through FLW, and then we don't have anything in March. We might have a club tournament, and I will definitely start recording, doing some more media, so definitely check out some of my Instagram posts. That's where I will be most active. Facebook, I think I kind of just duplicate the post onto Facebook in case you don't have one or the other. But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I will catch you next time on Charged Up Bassin. Peace.